So I get asked on a frequent basis, what is my deal with Cedar Point? So let me tell you about the worst theme park trip I ever had. Now, before I get into my story, I want to make a couple things clear. First, I don't hate Cedar Point. They just happen to be the place where I had the worst trip I've ever had to a theme park in my life. And they could have fixed it, and they didn't. But I do not hate Cedar Point. It was just a matter of circumstances. Second, this was 15 years ago, back in 2001. A lot of things have changed, and hopefully the problems that they had at that point, they have addressed and fixed since then. Goodness knows they've had plenty of time to do that. Here's the story. Back in October of 2001, I was getting together with a bunch of my friends that I had met on different roller coaster groups. I was living out in California at the time. One of my friends managed to hook me up with a couple plane tickets, and we got this whole big group trip together to be able to fly me out to Ohio to check out Cedar Point, and then we headed off to Knoebels for Phoenix Fall Fun Fest and a few other different parks along the way. I was excited because if you know anything at all about roller coasters, Cedar Point is one of two parks in the country you really want to get to. The other being Six Flags Magic Mountain, which I already lived near. So I was excited. I was going to finally get to the roller coaster capital of America. We get to the park on an October afternoon. The park is scheduled to be open for about 6 hours or so for the big Fright Fest event. Now, I really don't care about haunted houses and Fright Fests and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to get on the roller coasters. I knew it was a limited schedule. I knew that there were some coasters that weren't open, but this was my chance to get as many of them as I could. And so I was excited and looking forward to it. My friends all had season passes, but I didn't, and so I was ready to pay full price at the gate. We pull up to Cedar Point, and the weather, in all honesty, is ugly. It's raining, it's wet, it's blowing a little bit. It's not real pretty weather. But if you know anything about roller coaster enthusiasts, yeah, a little water doesn't stop us, we don't mind. But I knew that it could be a little iffy because Cedar Point's policies on running coasters and weather is a bit iffy. We get up to the front gate. We look around at their signs that say what's not operating, and they're all blank. Hey, according to their signs, everything's open. This is a good sign. We walk up to the ticket booth, and I talk to the girl there, and I say, okay, the weather's ugly. I don't have a pass or discount or anything, so I've got to pay full price. Is everything open? I know the weather looks kind of not so good. Before I pay full price, I want to make sure that the coasters are going to be open so I can ride. I don't want to spend my money and then find nothing open. Everything's open, she tells me. I haven't gotten any word from park operations. It's all ready to go. You're good. Really? Can I double check with your supervisor just in case? Because I don't want to get stuck. It's open, it's open. I just saw my supervisor. It's all open. You're going to be good. And so I basically repeat this with her 2 or 3 times before I even give her my money. Because I don't want to get stuck. Thoroughly reassured, everything is open. Awesome. Wonderful. This will be fun. We pay our money, we walk into the park, and we head over to a couple of the coasters, and they're not open. Okay. Were they right at opening? Maybe they're just a little delayed. Maybe they're watching the weather, but, we'll hang around. We'll see if they get open, and we'll look forward to riding. Over the course of the next hour or so, we find that there are exactly 3 rides that are open that we want to ride. Power Tower, Iron Dragon, which was making wonderful puddles of water on the riders, and Cedar Downs. Everything else is closed, including most of the haunted houses. Again, I don't care about those, but it's all closed, and I paid full price to come in. So a little over an hour after we got into the park and found everything closed and really no signs of it opening up anytime soon, we went over to guest relations. Now, I've dealt with guest relations in a number of parks for a variety of different things. I like dropping in and handing off compliments. Rarely do I actually have to make a complaint, but anytime I've had to make a complaint at any other park, it's always been dealt with professionally and well. We walk into the door of guest relations, and before we're even in the door, the guys at the counter are going, "No refunds." Well, that's not a real nice way to greet your guests. Not even a "hi, can I help you?" It's "no refunds." not a real good impression. But I said, you know what, I'm going to talk to them anyways because this isn't real good. And I explained to them very nicely, very politely, okay, I understand what your normal policy is, that you don't do rain checks or anything, but I talked to your people at the ticket booth before I paid, and I was told very specifically that everything was open, and it's not open. You're telling your people at your ticket booths one thing to tell the guests that isn't true. That's not exactly good business practices here. I've come out from California to ride and there's nothing open, and if I had known it wasn't open, I wouldn't have spent my money. We would have just gone on. Come on, guys. Make up for this a little bit here. Now, I didn't live that far from Knott's Berry Farm, so even if they had given me passes that would have worked with another park in their chain, I probably would have been happy. But their line was, no refunds, no rain checks, we're not giving you anything. Not even an I'm sorry or an apology. It's just, no refunds. Really rude, not very nice. There's not even that many people in there. Basically us and like one other person, and they're just being jerks. As we're standing there, again, an hour to an hour and a half after the park is opened, their park operations calls in and lets them know we're closing the park 3 hours early. Why? Because of the weather and the light crowds. So they even gave up on the day. Hey, cancel the day, forget it. I'm standing there listening to them and saying, okay, guys, look, not only did you mislead me at the booth, not only did you basically lie to me about what was open, now you're cutting off half the day. So even if I wanted to stay, you have now denied me what you told me at the gate you were going to give me. And that was 6 hours of park. I can't even have that now. Hello? This is a simple thing. Give me a refund. Give me a ticket for a future visit. Something. Nope, no refunds. I'm just being a jerk. We basically left with absolutely nothing. We had never been anything but polite to them. And quite frankly, we were all ticked off. In our group of 6, we had a couple guys that they absolutely loved Cedar Point, but they didn't like them that day. We went on with the rest of our trip, very upset. In fact, as we were leaving the park, again, park's been open for an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. They're closing in an hour and a half, and they're still telling people at the ticket booth that everything is open and charging them full price because we watched people pay cash. We were telling them on our way out, don't do it, don't do it. They're going to rip you off. I get back from my trip, and I send a nice, very businesslike, polite, but upset letter to Cedar Point explaining what happened, that their guys had basically lied to me at the gate, took my money, gave me no option for a resolution, something I had never encountered at any other park, and as a frequent visitor of parks, I know what parks generally do. If you go to Disney, for example, and your day's rained out, they're going to give you another ticket. Silver Dollar City and Holiday World actually have on their tickets a rain check policy that if your day's rained out or weather interferes, you got an immediate free ticket to come back again. This is a standard deal in the industry. Yes, weather happens. Yes, mechanical breakdowns happen. But in extreme cases, they'll give you a refund or another ticket. Cedar Point wasn't budging. So I explained all this in my letter and what had happened and that I hoped that they would get a nice resolution to it. About 2 weeks or so after I sent my letter, I get a real nice phone call from the vice president of the park. Very polite, very nice on the phone, apologizes for what happened. Says yes, they had made some mistakes. He's going to get a refund out to me right away, and I should see it within 2 weeks. All right. Thank you. Good. Somebody's going to do the right thing here. And I wait. And 2 weeks comes and goes, and nothing. 3 weeks comes and goes, nothing. He's actually left me the direct line phone number to his office. So after 3 weeks or so, I give a quick call, get voicemail, of course, and just leave a message saying, hey, this is the guy that you talked to a couple weeks ago about the bad park visit. Here's the reference number you gave me. Haven't seen a check or anything in the mail yet or other tickets. Still waiting, want to make sure they didn't get lost in the mail. If you give me a call back and let me know what's going on, I'd appreciate it. Thanks. Didn't hear anything, no callbacks, nothing in the mail. A week and a half later, make the same kind of phone call. Nothing. Don't hear a thing. In fact, with 3 follow-up phone calls and other checks, I never got anything from them. No letter, no check, no refund, no tickets, nothing to make up for the way they treated me at the park. Terrible, terrible. I've never had a park do that. I've never had a park really essentially lie and steal to their customers. Not good. Now again, it's been 15 years since that happened, and I did have a little opportunity to make up for it. The next spring, we worked out another trip, and that year I actually bought season passes to Knott's Berry Farm because we were going to go a few times, and Knott's has always been wonderful to me. Same company, great people. Like, they could have taught the others a lesson. So I had my season pass to Knott's Berry Farm and made this trip back, which meant I didn't have to pay to get in the gate to Cedar Point. And we kept food in the car, so I didn't give any money to any of their vendors in Cedar Point. In fact, I spent exactly nothing at Cedar Point. Because as far as I was concerned, that second trip was on their dime. They owed me for the first one that they had taken my money for. And we had a good trip. I enjoyed the rides. That was the year that Wicked Twister was open, so we got to ride that and got my rides on Millennium Force and other coasters. Had a good time. But still in the craw of my gut, there was still that feeling of, you owe me this. Now, would I go back to Cedar Point? Absolutely. I'd actually be able to like to go without feeling like I'm having to get back at them or get my money back from them. Those are the only 2 times I've ever been. So again, it's been about 15 years since I've been. So another trip to Cedar Point would be wonderful because, as far as I'm concerned, it would be kind of starting off at ground zero and a whole fresh trip that way. But that's what happened. That was my worst trip at a theme park ever. I've never had another one quite the same way. I've seen some bad things at parks, but never one where the park treated me quite like that. And like I said, we made up for it. We had a good time on that other trip a year later, but now you know the story. And that's why my trip to Cedar Point was the worst theme park trip I ever had. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little story. Love to hear about your experiences with bad trips to theme parks and what they did to make up for it. Or maybe didn't make up for it. Thanks so much for watching.